Upstander matters.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today. I'm your co-host, Molly Deblinger.
And I'm your other co-host, Ben-Hamo.
And on today's episode of the Upstander Responsibility, we're going to be talking about our personal experiences as Upstanders. Okay, so we're both here today because we were the recipients of the Claire Friedlander and Upstander Award. But what about your essay do you think set you apart or sparked whoever was reading its eye?
I think one thing that definitely stood out about my essay is just the fact that there's not so many people our age that can really stick up for themselves and just know how to use their voice and their power in that way. So I personally think being an Upstander is such an amazing and great integrated part of who I am. And I'm so thankful that I was able to receive this award. And I'm sure you could say the same. Being an Upstander is just a very deep and just integrated thing in your life and who you are and your personality and everything like that. So what about you, do you think?
So for me, I actually went against my administration because they initially said that I could not start the Jewish club. So I kind of gave solutions and everything and then was able to actually start the club from there. But as you were saying, it's in your personality. I feel like not everybody has this ability. Do you think you always had it or did something turn that ability on for you?
I feel like I've always had the ability to be able to speak up for myself and be able to stand against what I think is wrong and just everything like that. Because from a young age, sometimes I would experience bullying and just picking on and stuff like that. But it's not even about that. It's just I found my voice within myself and I'm always able to just stick up for myself and be able to have mature conversations with people and defend myself in a way. And that also comes with being defending what I believe and what I think is right. So the thing about your administration going up against it must have been very difficult. What was the process like?
So they originally told me we didn't have the funding, we didn't have the want for it, there was no need. And then we didn't have a teacher. There was just a million different excuses they gave. So I gave a solution to every single issue that they created and they told me no again. They actually told me to go talk to the Chinese club for a Jewish club, which I wasn't going to do that. I had rabbis call and then I just kind of kept pushing and showing them that there was need. I had a petition signed and after all of it, here we are, we're thriving. And you came and saw us with JSU and you could talk about what you saw too, but.
Yeah, I definitely saw a lot of engagement and just enthusiasm in your club. Everything seems just so put together and so tightly knit. Your board obviously seems to be doing its job and doing its job in a great way. And I'm really I'm very happy that you were able to go against your administration and just be able to get what you wanted because, it's not only benefiting you, it's benefiting other Jewish students and creating an environment like that. I know for my JSU club, it's definitely a safe space for not even just Jewish students. It's a safe space for any student to participate in activities with their friends. And obviously there's the food concept of it.
Yes, everyone loves food.
Obviously it's a great space to be around. I've really never heard anything bad about it. So
you came and visited us because of your position with JSU, but what was it kind of running for that position, getting that position, having that experience?
Yeah. So I'm very close with the rabbi who administrates it in a way. And he's definitely seen my progress as a leader and stuff throughout last year and this year. So I made it onto the New York board for JSU. And that experience has been amazing. And I'm running for national board now. And I think, honestly, the experience of being able to be so involved in JSU and be able to just share my experiences with other Jewish students and be able to hear perspectives and stuff about how other students are facing anti-Semitism and other stuff like that. It's very it's so humbling and just very nice to be able to be providing that for other people.
So you were saying other students' experiences with anti-Semitism. Have you specifically at school or any of your friends at your school faced anything?
Yeah.
And can you talk about that experience maybe?
Yeah. So after October 7th, obviously there's just so much tension and just so much hatred in every aspect of school and just everything was just so like not good.
Yeah.
But there were a few students in particular who made like a group chat and who were talking about like saying like, oh, I have something against like all the Jews and all of that stuff. And just this one person in my grade decided to post something negative about my country and where my family is from.
Yeah.
And just, I felt the need to go and say something. So I reported it to my administration. He was then suspended, but then that wasn't enough for him. So he decides to go in that group chat and start saying stuff about how, oh, I hate this little Jewish girl who reported me, or this sensitive little Jewish girl. Like, I have something against her. Like, we're going to jump her and stuff like that. Like, that's just something that's like, that really like brought out like the defensive part in me. Because
so you think it pushed you to like stand out even more and kind of speak up, not run away and hide?
Ever since October 7th, like I've always been an advocate for like my Judaism and all that stuff. Ever since October 7th, like my Judaism has really shined through, and I've been able to go on like a bunch of different experiences and stuff like that to embrace it more and to learn more about myself and my culture. But I really think the main thing that I take away from it is the ability to be able to stand up for myself and my people and what I believe in. Yeah. And it's not even only that. It's more of like, I stand up for my friends, I stand up for my family, I stand up for like anything that I really like love and like I believe in. Like, what are your personal experiences with that?
So for me, I feel like I've always been able to advocate, but I never felt the need to advocate for my Jewish community until after October 7th. That's when I started to kind of see the change and like realize that I should be strengthening my Jewish identity. And like I did, and now I'm here. And that's why I think the Jewish Club is so important for me. It obviously happened before October 7th, but having that space and giving other students that space too is just a really important part of school, I think. That way they know that they're there. And in my community, there is a pretty strong Jewish community, but we never felt the need to come together that strongly until October 7th. So in that way, it was kind of good to kind of see how strong we truly are, and that if we all do work together, then something truly amazing can be accomplished.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think when Jewish people come together, it's just such like a strong light and just such a strong like force. And it just like, we don't let negative thoughts, negative things just get in our way of standing what we believe in. Like every single protest and stuff that you see online is even you see that, like you just see like how people start like yelling at Israeli protesters and all that stuff, and they still unbothered. Like that's just how it is. And like, I definitely see that through you.
Oh, thank you.
But like, I want to know what's like the most, except for the administration part, like what was the most difficult thing that you've had to see?
I've been very lucky to personally not have to face any really bad anti-Semitic comments, but my vice president for the club, or one of my friends, was making a poster for, it was some fair that we were having for all of the different cultures. It was the culture fair, whatever it was. And she was in art class and she was drawing Jewish stars, and she asked one of her friends who was at the table to help her. And the friend was saying, why don't we add some red? And then it was around Hanukkah. And then why don't we add some green? And she was like, oh, like acting oblivious, like Christmas colors. And she goes, and black in the middle too. She could not stand at school the fact that the Jewish people and the Jewish community was coming together. And so just understanding. And then she like made a comment about it, and she didn't see anything wrong with what she said. So I think a lot of it comes from the lack of information. So I think it's important for us to like kind of go out and advocate, and that kind of pushed me even stronger to be able to kind of speak to everyone at school, not just focus on the Jewish community. That way everyone can like see how that's not okay.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and that's just terrible that had to happen. But I mean, at least you've had the privilege of not being able to personally experience it, because I mean, so have I, other than what happened like with the student online. But I mean, in my community, like there's just, even in elementary schools and stuff, like Jewish students are facing like anti-Semitism. Like in my in one of my elementary schools, I'm pretty sure, or middle school, I'm not sure, but one of the Jewish students who my family is even friends with, like their family, they were absent for one day of school, and then they come back to their art class, which he like loved that class and stuff. Like he found it like fun and just way to express himself. But he comes back and his artwork is like swastikas drawn on it, and just like it was just disgusting to even hear about. And like I agree when it comes to like being like together in a way, because if it weren't for that sense of community and it weren't for like the sense of like how strong the Jewish community is when we're all bonded together, I'm almost sure that nothing would have really, they would have just batted an eye about it.
Yeah.
Which is honestly very sad. And that does come in with the misinformation part of all of this, like especially the war and stuff, like having to see all that stuff on the media and everyone portraying everyone in like a negative light. Like it's just so, it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And stuff to just see like humanity as like a whole, like go just so deep into stuff like that. And, you know, it just like sucks seeing that. But like I like personally make it a point on all my social media stuff to just post and post and post and post so people at least are seeing it.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it's just so important to be doing that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to think, like, we had speakers, I've had Holocaust survivors come and talk to the school, and like students have then gone after and said like, why are they here? They don't support us. They don't support me. Like, what would you do in that situation if a student were to come up to you and say, the Holocaust didn't happen, this shouldn't be happening? And like, how would you combat that type of situation?
Honestly, I would just, that's so terrible to even like think about.
Yeah.
Like if you even, I would tell them to go open a book and just like, come on, like that's like ridiculous. Even people who think that just that stuff didn't happen just makes me so heartbroken.
Yeah.
Especially for the survivors that are still here. Like my heart just breaks for them over and over again when they have to hear people in the media say that stuff. Like it's disgusting and terrible. I'm like, I would tell them to go look up a picture of a Holocaust survivor, find out if they're still alive, contact them, and then say all this stuff to their face.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they wouldn't be able to do that. So it's just that people nowadays are just so focused on their phones and so focused on social media and just so focused on all of the negatives and stuff. Like I hate that we have to just sit there and just take so much backlash from the media. But the one thing we don't do is give violence back. And that's what I feel is so special about the Jewish people as a whole. Like we just know how to just spread light and don't like spread the darkness that they're obviously spreading. But, you know, that doesn't even come with like being like Jewish and stuff like that. Like I think my Judaism personally is a very big part of who I am.
I would agree.
But also it's just that I feel morally wrong and obligated to stick up for myself and stick up for things that I think are right versus if people are yelling in my face saying you're wrong, your opinion doesn't matter, which is what the media is doing to Jewish people all around the world, and just combat it by facts and logic and not let it get to you.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the best thing that you could do.
Oh, I would agree. So with that, like Claire Friedlander name, now that you have that honor, what responsibility do you think that specifically you now have and you now hold?
I think the biggest responsibility is continuing to be an Upstander and just continuing to spread the light that I've been spreading and just continue to stand up for what I believe is right. Like even if it doesn't relate to Judaism or anything like that. Like I think just standing up for even my friends in a situation where they can't stand up for themselves. Like even if it's like that, like even demonstrating the smallest parts of being an Upstander is upholding that name. And especially getting more involved in like just these opportunities that we have now and just being able to really internalize and appreciate everything. How do you feel about holding the title?
So I would agree, definitely keeping up with speaking out, if not doing more, but also inspiring other people to do the same. You have to have that spark within you, but it takes a while to find that spark. So if we can help people kind of understand that you do have it in you and that it's better to speak out than be silent and just kind of let people push you down. You can't let that happen. And on any sort of topic. So inspiring others to speak out, not just myself, I would say is definitely a big part of that name, because I think that's what she would want. I think we want as many Upstanders as possible.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I wanted to ask you, like, what was your, like, turning point, really, like, to, like, apply for the award and just all of that stuff?
I feel like almost everything I do revolves around me being Jewish. I do a lot of work with survivors. I'm involved with BBYO. I founded the Jewish Club. So kind of understanding that, but knowing that I speak out, specifically going against my administration, which could very well harm me in the end with school, getting in trouble, but knowing that I'm not going to let that stop me. I think an Upstander is someone who speaks out even when they're scared, who knows that when someone silences you for something that is strong, that you're going to keep going until you get there. So I think that really changed my perspective and kind of pushed me to do more and reach much farther and higher than I ever have before, and kind of go beyond the limits that I currently set for myself.
That's amazing.
What about you?
I feel like, I mean, I don't know if I said this before to you, but I definitely, like, I'm going to continue going against, like, my school and whatever. Like, if they're trying to, like, shut me up about something, like, I'm not going to let that get to me. Like, before, actually, no, after October 7th, there was a lot of misinformation, like, towards the end of the year when my social studies teacher started talking about the Israel and Palestine conflict. But obviously I knew it was a very sensitive, like, topic and stuff, but I was not going to let that just diminish what I had to say and what I believe in. And just a lot of people came to me and said, Ella, like, I don't agree with this. Like, isn't this wrong? Because they know I'm, like, involved in everything and I stay updated. But, you know, having, like, because a lot of people, maybe they don't think, like, oh, well, I shouldn't believe the media. I should believe what a teacher is telling me, because they have an education and this is what they're supposed to teach me. If they're teaching misinformation, which they were, like, so much of it, like, I was sitting there with, like, my superintendent and a bunch of parents and stuff, like, going through page by page by page of these notes packets that just straight misinformation. And
how did that feel, kind of going against that teacher and kind of showing the class that you can't trust everyone, even the people who you think that you might be able to or you should be able to?
It felt like, honestly, really scary, but by the time I was sitting in the office with my administrators and I was with a bunch of parents who were, you know, relying on me for a student perspective, I felt very, like, responsible and empowered to do like right by my people and right by history, and just make sure that there are people who are not gonna be, like, lied to by teachers, and just not receive, like, correct information and that stuff, because I think that's just so important. Because if there is people that just think everything their, like, teacher is saying to them is right, which obviously most people do, but, you know, just to have that voice and to have that power to be able to stand out and stand up against what you think, you know, is just so empowering. Like, I definitely felt, like, empowered, and I felt strong and confident in what I was saying, because I know what's right, you know. But I definitely think it was very nerve-wracking, because obviously there could be, like, a negative downside to it, like, what if my administrators think of me a certain way and that stuff. But all of that was overpowered by, I want to do right.
Yeah, I think that all kind of circles back to the whole idea of being an Upstander and speaking out even when it's scary, or even when you feel as though you're not supposed to.
Yeah. What's been your favorite experience being, like, an Upstander? Or, like, what's been, like, your favorite, like, part of being an Upstander?
I think kind of getting to speak out about the experiences that I've got to have. So I am privileged to do a lot of work with Holocaust survivors and kind of sit one-on-one and learn their stories and become an official witness. And both of my social studies teachers the past 2 years have given me the platform and opportunity to speak out to their classes about the survivor's story and what the Holocaust was and how anti-Semitism is still here today and how we can kind of solve that. So I think being able to kind of go and educate others and inspire others to do the same has been one of my favorite parts, definitely. What about you?
I mean, definitely, like, creating, like, an environment for people to feel safe and comfortable talking about their personal experiences dealing with anti-Semitism, and just, like, hearing a bunch of stories and hearing, like, everything that people have had to go through. like with anti-Semitism or just with like not being heard in general. Like that's definitely been one of my favorite parts about being an Upstander, just like hearing people and like being able to like internalize and actually feel the way that they felt. Like I was able to put myself in their perspective and put myself in their shoes just to figure out like how I would go about the situation. Mm-hmm. So to just overall just make a difference. Like I feel like being an inspiration like that is just very like, it's humbling, but at the same time, it's very empowering.
So if you were to come across someone or someone were to approach you and say that they were scared to speak out and kind of didn't know what to say, how do you inspire them to become an Upstander and speak out for whatever they need to speak out upon?
I would definitely share personal experiences on how it feels to be an Upstander and just hope that inspires them enough to be able to speak for themselves. But obviously, it's not going to work for everyone. But really, all I would say to them would be, like, obviously, other than that, would be just like, how would you feel if they listened to you? How would you feel if they appreciated you? What difference would that make in your life? What could that change for you or other people even? Like, if someone is being told no for something that they very strongly believe in, especially someone they view as like an inspiration to them or someone who they look up to, I think that being like defiant in some way and being protective of what they think and just standing up for themselves, like I would just tell them to like imagine how that would feel. Like it's because it's very like satisfying to be able to speak and just get the words out. Like I'm sure you could say that too.
Yeah,
definitely. It's very good to be able to just speak and just have my opinion and my voice be heard. Sometimes it's not internalized and understood. At least it's heard though. Like that's really definitely what I would say. Yeah. What about you?
I mean, I think I would obviously as well share personal experiences, but really go to the deeper level and say, as soon as you can speak out once, it's almost like riding a bike. Like that's me personally. If I kind of start on a subject, I feel inspired to do more after I finish that conversation, because understanding that you are heard and that you can truly change someone's perspective by sitting and having a conversation with them and inspiring others to just be able to do the same and show them that no matter what the issue is, big or small, there is a change that can be made. And especially if it's bothering you, then how is that going to be heard or solved if you don't advocate and speak out for whatever that certain issue is?
I definitely think that's great. That's amazing. And I would definitely take that as well. If someone were to come up to me and ask that. But, you know, not everyone has their light and not everyone has found their spark yet. But I truly believe that everyone has it in them. They just haven't maybe experienced something or just had to, you know, just go through something. Hopefully they don't. But, you know, maybe someday everyone will be able to speak out for themselves. But, you know, that would be a perfect world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Upstander Responsibility. Be sure to share, stay connected for more engaging conversations. See you next time and be well.